friend of my daughter, Erin, who is in the program. And I have seen Kaylen perform many times on stage because they were at Shoreline, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Shoreline Community College together. And so I just can't wait to hear her story now. I told Erin I needed a speaker, and I've been kind of laid up, so I just had knee replacement surgery, and I was having a hard time finding a suspect. And so my daughter came through with me with the best suspect I could ever ask for because I know she's going to do a fabulous job. Thank you. So this is Kaylen.
Hi, my name is Kaylen. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Kaylen.
Hello. As many times as I've said that phrase specifically in the last 11 months, I would say I didn't truly believe it until the last week. I've said it so many times. Again, in the last 11 months, so 11 months ago, October 19th, I got in a very bad car accident. I was blacked out. I was driving my car in the middle of the afternoon, and I crashed my car, luckily, into some parked cars. And nobody was hurt except for me, and I thank God for that every single day. I got a concussion and a black eye. I looked a little cooler, but it didn't really do me any favors. And so that happened. I went to jail for an evening and have been dealing with the repercussions in my personal life ever since, legally ever since, and just personally in assessing myself and who I am and what was going on up until that point. It's interesting that you say that the Seattle group says people are suspects because I was suspicious. I was very suspicious that I had an issue for a good handful of months up before that accident, but I'm the kind of person that I tend to learn lessons in the hardest way possible. Until there's some real repercussion that comes to me, I'm like, well, that's a problem for later. That's a problem for later. I'm doing fine. I'm going to work. I'm going to school. I'm keeping up with my obligations. But obviously I had a deep, dark problem brewing inside of me until one afternoon. Normally I had gone home and I created a pattern of like, oh, I grab a couple drinks or whatever, something that I've limited because I'm being so smart because I need to think about the fact that I have to limit how much I have available to me, and was going through that pattern every day. And I just got the bright idea one day. I was having a hard day. My partner, my boyfriend, was upset with me because I was starting to lose track of those obligations. I was starting to meet up with him later and later and leave him hanging. And he was like, I don't think you're respecting my time. You keep not showing up on time. And it was because I had been drinking and was waiting to meet up with him to go do whatever we were going to do. And I was upset. So I went to go to the store to get him gifts. And I got the bright idea to get a bottle and have a little bit before I went up and met with him to give him these gifts. And then I met up with him. We had a long conversation. He was so happy. He had no idea that I was on like a level 9. Like I was really, really in it. And then I left and I don't remember what happened until I crashed my car. And so after that, I start dealing with my legal repercussions. This is when I really knew that I had community and people who loved me. You don't really know until you're in a crisis who's really there for you. And I moved in with my dad. I lived in his camper in his side yard. I had a black guy and I had a breathalyzer with me 24/7. I feel like I had the whole trifecta. But I was so grateful for those things. Even if those were hard times, I knew like, well, I just got to keep going. And I know I got to do this for me. I'm currently dealing with a deferred prosecution that we're trying to get through the courts and whatnot. And of course, like, yeah, I don't want to go to jail. Like, of course I don't. But I really was like, no, I need help. If this happened, I need help. I want help. I want to come back from this. And so I'm working through that. And for such a long time, for the last 10 months, I didn't feel like sobriety was quote unquote easy, but I didn't think anything else was really an option. But I had the law on my side because I had a scram breathalyzer that I took everywhere with me for months until I started sleeping through it. So it goes off like 6 times a day. I have to blow into it. It wakes me up at night. And if I miss it or if I have alcohol in my system, then I get dinged and they send it to the court. And that's obviously bad for me legally. Started sleeping through it. So then I had a huge ankle monitor that I was rocking for like 6 months into the summer. And just that whole time I went to intensive outpatient, which I really loved. And I have a wonderful counselor doing regular outpatient since April or May. I've been doing that. And I just kind of felt like, yeah, like I'm really doing good. Like doing anything else isn't even an option. I go to AA a couple times a week. I have a sponsor. I knew it was coming up in April, May, that I was going to get that ankle monitor off. And I was like, okay, I'm going to bump up the help that I have. And that's when I got a sponsor. And that's when I was kind of thinking of everything I could to help myself out. And for a while, that went super smoothly. That was like, okay, great. I have my sponsor. We're working the steps. I stepped up in my AA groups and decided, like, I chaired some meetings and I felt really proud of that. I was really happy to do that. And I was kind of figuring out how to get into service. And then my sponsor and I kind of fell off with each other, not like fought and fell out. We just kind of both got busy at the same time and kind of pittered off. And sometimes my counseling didn't work out for the week and that kind of pittered off. And I think it's really nice that people think I'm doing so well that they're not worried about me, but then people check in on me less and then I'm thinking, oh, I'm doing so great. And then just kind of that baffling cunning alcohol got to me a week ago. It was just a week ago that I always thought my whole issue, more than anything, wasn't kind of a physical craving. It was more so socially. I felt really out of place and was kind of figuring out how to deal with things socially and with other people. But I did relapse and I was all by myself. I decided when I was all alone and all by myself and I had this opportunity that I was like, well, like I should just try. I just want to see what happens. And I've realized since this relapse, there was something in that whole 10 or so months before this happened that I really pushed to the wayside. I had that like sneaky little devil on my shoulder that was telling me, oh, but you're the exception to the rule. You're the special one. You're the one that can drink normally. You just had a mistake, even though everything leading up to me actually getting in legal trouble and crashing my car told me otherwise. But my addict brain picked out the wrong things of what people were telling me, my very first time going to IOP and talking to a counselor, he was saying it's very, very rare, if not doesn't happen at all, that someone's going to come out the other end of this and be able to drink normally again, and they just went through a blip. And I heard, but there's a chance. The addict brain was like, but I might be the special one. It might be me. And so I think every time I pushed that away, I knew that wasn't true, but I didn't know it wasn't true until this came around. And I just really grasped onto that. And a couple of my friends, trying to be so sweet and so lovely, told me like, Kaylen, like I didn't notice an issue. I think that maybe you just went through a hard time and this just happened and you made a mistake. And it's like, you don't get blacked out and drive your car at 3 p.m. in the afternoon by mistake without an issue. But again, I held on to that for all this time. I don't think I truly knew, no matter how many times I said, hi, I'm Kaylen, I'm an alcoholic, I'm doing all the right things. I don't think like in my heart, I really believed it until this happened. I don't recommend relapsing to figure that out, but unfortunately, I do think on this journey, that's what I needed. I don't recommend it, but I think that this was going to happen until I truly believed it or until something happened to convince me otherwise. And this happened to be the thing. And I was by myself. My boyfriend was gone. He was going to come home later than we planned. And I was like, well, why don't I have a little party by myself? And he comes home. We watched a Disney movie together. I missed the whole thing because I blacked it out because I'm thinking I'm just going to have a little bit. And it went further than I planned. And then you think, well, I can have a little more. I can have a little bit more. And that leads into me missing most of the evening. We watched Inside Out 2 together. And now I don't even remember. And now I get to watch it for the first time a second time, which doesn't usually happen. But here we are. And my lovely, supportive boyfriend, we'd been dating for 2 months when I crashed my car. And I told him, you don't have to stick through me, or you don't have to stick through this with me. I understand. Like, if I have stuff to figure out and this isn't going to work. And he was like, no, I'm gonna stick around unless something like this specifically happens again, something really drastic. Like, I'm here for you. And now we live together. He's a wonderful, supportive partner. I can't drive now. It's a fun joke among us. I go, I'll drive, and he doesn't let me. But he was so lovely this last week, that evening, where he came home and he could tell something was wrong, but he didn't know what. And I went and got ready for bed. And this is the part of the evening I do remember because I was so stunned. I walked out from brushing my teeth, and he looks at me. He goes, do we want to talk about what's in your backpack? Because that's where I so cleverly hid what I had purchased for myself that afternoon. And I because I was not in a good state of mind, I went, huh? I'm like, what are you talking about? I have no idea what you're talking about. And so he stands up and proceeds to take it out of my bag, and I go pour it down the drain. We had a really long conversation where I'm just crying and, again, not in a good state of mind to really deal with it. But we have talked about it and dealt with it, and he's being supportive, but he's just on the track where he's like, just don't lie to me about it again. And I'm like, well, the addict brain kind of does what it wants. But I feel so much more, honestly, confident in my sobriety now because I've talked to my counselor about this. I've talked to him about it. I go to a women's group AA a couple times a week that I really love, and I talked to them about it, and I went, I don't feel good about it. It wasn't quote unquote worth it. But I feel so much more deeply in my heart now that I'm like, yeah, this is a problem. Hi, I'm Kaylen. I'm an alcoholic. Like, I know that in my heart of hearts at this point. So all I can say now is that I'm so grateful for my family and my community, for my AA community. I'm remembering the times that I felt the best and most solid in my sobriety were the times I was going to AA. For me, it works to go like a couple times a week. If I overschedule myself, I freak out. Like, it doesn't work. So a couple times a week of that. I go to counseling once a week. I just meet or talk with my sponsor once a week. And that's when I felt so proud and so solid and like, this is what the right thing to do. And so all the signs were there of like, I was going to AA less and less till I wasn't going. I stopped communicating with my sponsor. I didn't really care if I missed my counseling meeting because I was doing so great. So it's fine. And yeah, I realized all the signs were there. I hope to be able to recognize those signs more in the future and be able to hold in my heart what I've really learned from this experience. And I'm just grateful to be here. I'm grateful for AA. I'm grateful for all of you and for the sober community, and can't wait, I guess, to continue to come back more and more, and excited to most likely start serving and hold some responsibility. And that really, really helps. And I want to help other people, and it helps me too. So thank you all very much. Again, my name is Kaylen. I appreciate you.